Hey everyone, welcome back. I have for you another trading recap today, which is for Thursday the 6th of April on my small win on EU going long, and I'm going to give you, as always, my trading strategy, my trading analysis, and my trading narrative, and everything else that I needed to take this trade. I'm going to walk you through it exactly as how it played out, and you're going to gain loads of value from this. So join me over on the charts and enjoy this video. Now guys, as usual, let's start off here on the daily for EU. So just a brief look at the daily, we can see that the previous day it closed out with a bearish candle. In the grand scheme of things, what does this mean? This doesn't mean much because to me it's still bullish, right? We still got this weak high and we're still constantly making higher highs in this trend since the pullback. Yeah. So important things to note, we've got our previous daily low, previous daily high, and you can see at some point, you can see we've swept the previous daily low, which means sell side liquidity, right? So we can expect some sort of bullish behavior. So let's go down to the 4-hour. You'll start to see my narrative on screen and we can walk through that now. So narrative, daily, still bullish overall with weak high, as I've just shown, as I've just explained. 4-hour, bullish trend, pulled back after rejecting fair value gap. Here's that 4-hour imbalance and fair value gap. You can see we tapped into it and pulled down strongly on Wednesday on the previous day, right? So we've pulled back there. However, we haven't broken structure. This is still the leg, right? This is still the 4-hour leg. Look back at my other videos if you need some explanation on that. We've still got our higher highs and we haven't broken structure, so that is also still bullish. Yeah. Right, here on the hourly now, we start getting into the intraday stuff. So this is the pullback that we've just seen above, and we've had this small retrace and a further leg created, right? A new low created because this order block here, which I did have marked out, but it didn't hold. Now, that's not the end of the world for the bullish behavior, right? For me. So instead, what I have here is I've shown the sweep of liquidity because this swept liquidity and rejected that area. So this was overnight and into Asia. So Asia took the previous daily low and rejected it. And then now into today's price action, depending on your time zone, we held, right? So I won't go into too much detail here, but you can see that we held this low here. We didn't, to me, break to bearish structure just yet. So let's explain this. Bullish order block swept and previous daily low swept for sell side liquidity. So we swept this low and we've also swept the previous daily low for the sell side liquidity. No bearish structure shift. However, I'm aware previous leg low, which was here, did break to an extent, right? So I'm aware of this, that, you know, possibly in future we're going to shift. But I don't believe it's happened because these lows here are intact. So it doesn't look particularly bearish to me. You can see we came up at some point today and we've swept some buy side liquidity at this old high here. We swept that buy side liquidity, right, and came back. So, and also to note, we have a 1-hour fair value gap up here, more in the premium of the 1-hour leg, which can attract price. I'll explain this a bit more on the lower time frame. And the DXY explanation, we'll go through DXY after. So down onto the 15-minute now, into the business end. You can see how this low was swept here. We created a structure and eventually broke out and created a new higher high on this 15-minute, right? So this is where we're going to start getting to the trade that I took today. So I marked out this order block here. This order block was the source of this impulsive move here, this impulse that broke this high, took that buy side liquidity, and went into, I believe this is a 5-minute order block, so I'll show you on a lower time frame. Came up here, massive move, left this order block behind, and then it pulled back what I deemed to be correctively. So after taking this buy side liquidity, it didn't give me a bearish outlook, right, with the way it came back down. Let's go down to the 5-minute, which is where I was mainly taking a trade from. So you can see here, right, we pulled up massively and came down quite correctively here and created buy side liquidity trend line, which I pointed out with this. You can see this 5-minute order block, and to me this is now a weak 15-minute high. Why? Because it hasn't taken out the low that caused the high, or even this low, right? So this is a weak high now at this point, because on the 5-minute it spiked into the 15-minute order block, took some internal liquidity here, and has created structure. So like me, I'm a bit more cautious. I didn't just take the trade off of that structure, of course not. No, because we don't have a higher time frame POI to trade from, like the 1 hour or something. So we've taken sell side liquidity and we've had a corrective pullback and swept some internal liquidity. Now I'm waiting to see what happens with this structure, because to me, with my narrative, this is with trend. I'm going to wait for this structure to break, right? I'm going to look for a BOS around this point here on the 5-minute, because it's with trend. So I don't have to wait for a 15-minute clear structure break. And that would be enough for me to see what's left behind, see if we get some impulsive move. So I'll play this forward a little bit. Once this happened, we now have breaker structure to the upside, right? We have a 15-minute order block left behind. So we mitigated one 15-minute, made an impulsive move, breaking a 5-minute high. I wouldn't call this a 15-minute high, but you could. So 5-minute high, and now we've got a new order block from which to trade from. So this is an order block here that is sort of you could say a continuation, right? It's a continuation of the bullish behavior from the previous order block. So now we've got an order block to trade from, fair value gap, giving the order block some sort of validity, and now I need to wait for the pullback. We're coming into those hours where it's slow for the market, so you may want to wait for New York, but I'm fairly profitable in these hours, so I'll let it play forward. It pulled back kind of harshly, and then as you can see, once it did this, as you've seen in my previous trade videos, this is now inducement, right? This is now sell side liquidity to sponsor the move up, right? So this is now inducement. Now this looks great. So on the 5-minute, we've had a break of structure, inducement, and now once this pulls back, we have a corrective pullback, right? Which is what? A corrective pullback is the same as this. Corrective pullback is buy side liquidity trend line building up above price, right? So now that I have this is everything I need now to enter this trade, right? Breaker structure, 15-minute order block held, and now we're coming in off the second 15-minute order block with inducement, with a corrective pullback, right? This is what we have. By the way, guys, if you're getting value from this, please remember to subscribe and like. It helps out a lot and motivates me to do more. And this is all free, right? So anyway, back to the trade. Now we have a pullback that's corrective, a pullback with inducement, and continuing with my narrative and the order flow that's come into the market now, because we've bottomed out, created a new high. So I set up my market order. Let me do this. I'll do this to the exact same as how I entered. So there we go. This is what I aimed for. I gave a generous stop to account for this low and for spread. and I wanted at least 2%, which I believed was possible, aiming above this high. Now I would have preferred to aim just below the high or before it, but it's a weak high, so I'm expecting it to be broken, and I expect the narrative to continue. And on DXY, you'll see it looked like it had a bit more room to go for the sell side liquidity. So let's cut over to DXY now before I play the rest of this trade, and we'll see why DXY I believe to be on side. So here we are on the hourly of the DXY. So I'm going to start here because DXY, as we know, obviously has been in a bearish trend and has also now pulled back to its 1 hour order block, taking previous daily high liquidity, right? And then it pulled back down and it swept some sell side liquidity, as I mentioned on the EU narrative, right? So we swept some sell side liquidity after taking buy side liquidity, and we are also in a slightly bullish pullback, right? Because we've created higher high and higher low here, and we didn't close below, which would have been even better for the trade. However, just like on EU, I believed after taking this sell side liquidity, we pull back quite correctively, right? This is quite strong and impulsive, and this is not. This is all quite corrective. So obviously I also noted this above. You know, this is a 50-minute order block above, so it could have, I would have been entered in EU before that, so I was expecting possibly drawdown for it to come into this POI if it needed to, or for it to sweep this high here and then go down, right? But this is looking corrective. This is looking good. We've also got a 1 hour fair value gap, draw on price, and we've got this liquidity trend line which is being built up, same as EU, and we're in a bearish trend. Okay, so just even down on the 5 minute, you can see this bearish build up even more, this sell side liquidity build up, and it's quite obvious. So I'm expecting weak DXY, weak dollar behavior to continue at least down to here, right, and be attracted to this, and I'm able to get out with my 2%. So that's my explanation for DXY. Let's move back to EU and we'll play out the trade. So back to EU, let's play this out now. So this is how it was. Very little drawdown. I'll just pause it here for a second. Very little drawdown. Reacted very well off the POI. Came and immediately seeked out this buy side liquidity trend line. I moved to BE around here, around halfway. So my stop was break even, right? I'm expecting these highs to get smashed through, and but I'm still here being patient with it, tagged in around here, and that was great, right? So great start to the trade. Within 15 minutes, we're over 50% to the target. Remember now, there was news due today at 3 p.m. my local time, or 8:30 NY open. So price started playing around this point, went sideways for a while, and it kind of knew. I was thinking, oh, this is going to take all the way up until news, and my TP is just above this high here. So this is obviously bad for me in the terms of this is buy side liquidity, could hold a pullback. But I held on and I thought, I'm break even now and I'll move my stop to avoid slippage. So we'll play this forward. Long story short, we got really, really close to my TP and we swept this buy side liquidity on my broker. I'm not sure if it's happened yet here. We swept this buy side liquidity on my broker. Yeah, on my broker, this pulled back, swept the sell side liquidity here, moved into this gap. So I thought that's fine. But now we was only 10 minutes away from news. So I moved my stop up in a moment to secure the 1% before news. I moved it up to here. Now news spiked that way and then spiked back this way, even though dollar had bad news announcement, right? Dollar had a terrible news announcement, and for some reason that brought brought strength into the dollar. I don't know why, don't know how, but initially went this way. On my broker, it hadn't hit TP, but on TradingView it has, so this isn't correct, or I would have banked 2% and then pulled back. But I was out of the trade around here anyway. It looked faster on this going at 5-minute intervals, but yeah, I was out around here, and that was it. I took my nearly 1% and I was done for the day. It's been a successful week. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you got a lot of value from this video, and I'll see you again soon.